So, first of all, I would like to thank everyone for tuning in with us, and I would especially like to thank Mr. Sumon Chakrabarti for for taking the time out of his busy schedule to share a few words of wisdom with us. My name is Aniket Arya, and I will be your co-host this evening alongside Shambhav.
Hi everyone, I'm Shambhavi and Mr. Sumon, as many of you might be knowing, is the founder and CEO of a number of successful startups. One of his startups, namely Foot the Ball, is one of the top 30 sports tech startups globally, and it runs one of the most followed pages of football on social media.
He is also the co-founder and CEO of Buffalo Soldiers, which specializes in smart digital storytelling for brands. So once again, sir, it's an honor to have you among us. And without further ado, let's get started.
Well, I guess for all you kids out there, I think the one person I know is Devashish because he interned with us at some point in time. And I think he has taken a lesson back saying that in India, I think one of the things that we need to understand as you guys grow up is that this culture of sir needs to stop. Everyone has a name and people should be called by their name. Having said that, I think we are yet to be successful. We are there. We kind of are hanging in there. But I think it has been our startup journey has been a beautiful lesson. Lesson made out of mistakes, lesson made out of decisions being delayed, and lessons which were learned as we bootstrapped it for the last 3 years and last 3.5 years, and we pivoted. But we pivoted horizontally at a time when there was because we started off in a year which was 2017, and that was the year of venture capital freeze. I still remember when we were Uber top 15 with Foot the Ball, and of course we were very clear from day one that this is not an India play, there's a global play, and that's what we want to build. I think one of the things that we were excited about because we were top 15, we just had a concept, everyone had an MVP, everyone had a prototype to display in that top 15, all the other 14 had. We did not have one, right? And I think at that point in time, the whole excitement about venture capital funding and the whole startup culture in India was kind of building up, right? And all the, at the end of the day, you're building a business. You're building a business out of your passion, and football is my passion, and we were building a business out of that. We thought that there was this whole gap between football, the game itself, the beautiful game itself, and the fans. How do the fans connect with each other? Because primarily, if you go to social media, fans would be commenting on several things. But if you look at football fans, they're crazy, they're opinionated, they are and not just crazy and opinionated. They are very, very, they support their own club like mad. And primarily it comes from a club, it comes from a player, it comes, maybe during the World Cup or Euros, it comes from a nation, right? And that's who or what you support. Therefore, what happens is that all the discussions that happen amongst the football fans, either it's a WhatsApp group, at that point in time, there also used to be Viber groups, or today we're talking about signal groups, or on social media. What we realized is that there are a lot of football fans across the globe who wants to talk to each other based on the affinity as well, and not just the geography. And what we mean by affinity is very, very clear, that if you support Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, or a Barcelona or Real Madrid, you want to know people across the world who actually supports that particular club. That's your affinity. But do you get to talk to that particular fan, because you have so much to share? You have your views, you have your opinions. You are criticizing a player because of bad performance. You're glorifying another player because of great performance. So you keep doing that, right? And but you do it in silos, or you do it in a small WhatsApp group, which is possibly very, very geographically limiting, right? So while we wanted to keep the geography going so that it helps people out of the virtual world to connect with each other, but also people across the world with the same affinity coming on the same platform and connecting. But I think, we as first-time entrepreneurs, we were very, very clear that that we wanted to build a global play. And that kind of, I think, restricted us, because you understand that now it has matured a lot more. The Indian venture capital ecosystem. But at that point in time, we very clearly knew that if we took this idea to a VC, it would be shot off the table. And at that time, possibly we didn't approach enough international venture capitalists, because the Indian startup ecosystem is not mature. It's maturing as we speak, and it's maturing a lot. There is a lot more talk which happens right now. There's a lot more people who knows where how you can connect with the right people at the right time. But at the same time, I think we took a major decision when we came back from Berlin, and I think all the co-founders sat on the table, and I think that was a game-changing decision for us, because we were very, very clear: either take the VC route, or you have to bootstrap. But how do you, as first-time entrepreneurs, the biggest challenge in front of us was, how do you build a business? How do you even know that you are cut out for this? And I think having that journey is very, very important. And I think we did not take the easy route. We took the painful route. I mean, we said we'll have to know how to build a business, right? And that's where we got on the table and asked ourselves, what do we do best? And that's where we pivoted horizontally into a digital storytelling agency. Of course, now we are a creative agency with a digital heart. We've scaled up. We're almost a full service agency now. And this room where I'm sitting, this is where we started, 5.5 people, maybe scaled up to 6.5 people. 2019, and since 2019, when we moved to our co-working space, I think since then we took two big decisions. At the time when Put the Ball, the entire technology play, it was a product play, right? So entire technology was built. I had to take the decision that whether we can actually have our feet on two boats, and I said no. When everything was built, I said no. I had to take that call. I said both the feet has to be on one boat. Build a business, successful business. So actually, Put the Ball went on the back burner a little bit, right? And that's a call as an entrepreneur I had to take because of the mistakes that we had all made, and that those mistakes taught us a lot of lesson, right? How to build, how to scale. See, scaling is of course important, because if you're not scaling, how much do you scale given a certain, because at some point in time the world was all about scaling, but you have now pivoted from a product to a service industry. So how much do you scale? Because service, at the end of the day, the revenue and the margins are not even anything close to a product, if a product is successful, of course, right? So of course this has been a journey of it's a journey that I'll never give up, but it's also a journey which has been very enriching for all of us. We have learned to stay the course, and we of course survived COVID, right? I mean, so we must have been doing something right. So but how did we survive COVID? I think we only survived COVID because we knew how to bootstrap. We have gone through those days where we would wake up, every morning with a nightmare. Where's the next salary coming from? So I think that is very, very important for all of you to understand that you want to become an entrepreneur. It's not an easy route. It's usually you have to be in the game. You have to be in the game 24/7. You will make mistakes. You will make crucial calls which might not go your way, but still you have to believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, if you are following your passion, and that passion can change over time, right? But at the same time, if you do believe that this has a market, right, in the world, and you have the right skill set, and I'll come back to skills at some point in time. If you have the right skill set, then no one can stop you. Yeah, but you have to just stay the course. You have to have that gut. You have to have the persistence, because as an entrepreneur, believe you me, it's a very lonely journey. For all the co-founders, it's a lonely journey, because there would be right up front when you're a first-time entrepreneur, people don't trust you. Then when people see a little bit of glimmer of hope somewhere, there would be many people who will be trying to diss your journey, right? And that's the trap as human beings that we fall into, because we have had a lot of conversations on mental wellness of entrepreneurs, right, in the last 1 year particularly. So that's something that we need to really talk about. But at the same time, for all of you to know, it's a lonely journey. It's a long journey. It's like a baby. You're growing a baby, and it's not that the baby is born one day and the next day she or he starts running, right? You have to nurture a baby, and it's usually like somewhere between 7 to 10 years period where you actually make success. And if you look at all the big names today in the market internationally, you will understand that nothing has been successful overnight. Yes, there are a few outliers, but that's an exception that proves the rule. How I would like to do this is, like, there are a lot of youngsters here, and I would like all of you to throw questions. I think it's better to have an interactive session rather than have a boring presentation driven session, because I can't teach you anything or tell you anything which you already don't know with all the presentations in the world which is floating around, right? So go ahead. I mean, I believe you guys have a list of questions, so go ahead, shoot them, and I'll try to answer my best.
So, sir, many of us would be very curious to know that what was your main driving force to become an entrepreneur?
That's a tricky one. I guess I was working for about 18 years, right? Salaried. I think there were two things. Either it was football, an idea, and I think I was sick and tired of getting a salary. I wanted to ensure that we build something meaningful where we can provide salaries rather than salaries. So I think that was my motivation.
Okay. So, sir, in the recent pandemic times, I think a lot of businesses have been impacted very much, and it has changed the way that they do their operations on a day-to-day basis. So, how have you adapted to these new times?
Well, I think, again, I mean, we didn't know what to do. Frankly, we didn't know. We just had a belief in ourselves that everything will fall into place, right? At first 2 months, we lost about 70% of our businesses, right? And everything came at a standstill. We were on a high. We were actually thinking about moving from about 20 people to about 100 people in a span of 12 months. So we were, of course, planning to scale, right? And then the pandemic happened. Like, it happened, of course, it just stopped. But then I think we fell back on what we did best. We always learned from, because we bootstrapped all along and we did not raise a penny in our journey, right? So, of course, we did not dilute any equity along the way. So I think because we bootstrapped, we knew the pitfalls. We knew how to bootstrap, how to manage situations when the going gets really tough. And the going gets really tough in terms of revenue, because revenue came at a standstill, right? And I think what we are also proud about is the fact that when it all happened, I think one of the first decisions all the co-founders took was that, hey, this pandemic is here to stay. This is going to affect families, friends, and including your teammates, right? You don't know who gets affected at that point in time. So I think everything said and done, the first thing that we concentrated on is to ensure that, everyone has a COVID-19 insurance. So we actually tied up, we were one of the first ones to actually tie up with another startup, which is trying to change the game of insurance in India, called Plum. And we actually got COVID-19 insurance for all our colleagues. That was the first step that we do. But coming back to your, what helped us, again, I mean, I think nothing helped us, but just plain, we just tried to stay the course. And because we had bootstrapped, we knew how difficult it can be, but we were prepared for it.
So you basically just weathered the storm until it passed over, right, sir?
Oh, believe you me, it was a storm.
Yeah.
So, sir, how did the idea of startup on football strike you, and how is the growth of a sports tech startup different from other startups in India as well?
See, it's completely different, and especially when you're trying to build a virtual play, right? Driven by technology. It's that one product out of 100 which actually sticks its neck out and becomes successful, right? But sports, I believe, football is the biggest game in the world, right? And so I think when we became Uber Top 15, there was this one line because I think Travis Kalanick was still the CEO and he had come down to India for to mentor us for about a couple of hours, and I think he made a great observation, and that was also our kind of belief right from the beginning to do it, was that isn't something like this? Doesn't something like this exist in the world? And yes, it was a sitting duck opportunity. It was right there in our faces, right? So, but of course, for it to scale, we needed to raise funding until unless it went viral from the moment go, right? But we never got that chance to see whether it got viral because we took the decision in 2019 to stop the technology play, build on the brand, keep the visual storytelling going on social media, while we come back and revisit it at some point in time.
Okay, sir. Very insightful. And I think many people would also like to know that starting as an entrepreneur is quite a risky leap of faith in some sorts of ways. So you need a lot of courage for it. So what was your biggest challenge starting out as a first time entrepreneur? After venturing out of the journalism field.
I think the biggest challenge was people. I mean, getting the right people together. That was the biggest challenge, because if you don't get the right people together, you might have a vision, you might have a dream, but are you going to implement them? Because ideas are dime a dozen, right? I mean, people have great ideas every day, every moment. I mean, I'm sure all of you have great ideas how you want to build something at some point in time in your life, right? And I do not think that it is just about the money, because money is of course important, right? How do you build? How do you pay salaries, right? That's a very basic question, and all of you will go through it. But at the end of the day, if you have the right people around and the right talent around, because I think one of the biggest problem that we face is getting the right talent on board. Because if you have made a mistake right there, and we did a couple of times, that kind of sets your progress really. So you need to really connect with your co-founders or the founding team, and the founding team has to in turn connect with you. I think that is something. And of course, as I say, there has to be a vision behind it, because I think when youngsters join or when mid career people join, right? What is that biggest thing in a startup that every startup needs in the world? And one of the biggest things that they need is that people who are motivated enough and convinced in that to bring the A game, right? Not all people want to bring the A game, because some of them, for them, like they want to work in an MNC. Of course, you should go ahead and work in an MNC, but that you are not for a startup. That motivation, that drive, that hunger to do something has to reflect even in an intern, right? And I think I've really believed this because you guys are youngsters, right? And when you look at things in life, see, people of course like a salary, right? And I think it's like salary and status, right? They're like the perfect marriage, but it only happens when it becomes output of your skill and contributions, right? If you keep increasing your skill set, because skill sets are changing every day. If you're willing to adapt and change your skill sets, I definitely believe that you will see your salary increasing wherever you are, right? And that's, you will be given extra responsibilities. Money will come, but money is a direct output of the skill that you have today in 2021. And I think 2020 has been a great reinforced my faith in something that I've always believed. Like, see, I don't look at CVs of people applying. Primarily, I just glance through them. My co-founder, Shujoy, he's the guy who, looks into the CVs, looks into the nitty-gritties, looks at spelling mistakes, of course. But one of the things that I have always believed, that I don't care whether you are from, Harvard or IIM or IIT, I sincerely don't care until or unless, because I believe that talent is everywhere, right? And 2020 has taught us that. I think COVID, work from home. So if I always look at it, is that people who have, and we have had our internal challenges as well, right? Everyone had. And I think we have realized that there are people who are willing to put their 200% at times when you are faced with that amount of adversity. And there are people who would be performing at 30%. Those people who would be performing at 30% will never, so you make that call at that point in time. They will never, have that hunger to ever build something. And you have to call out at certain points in time as an entrepreneur. You have to take very, very tough decisions. That's when you call things out, because it's very important for an entrepreneur not to say that, okay, this is going on, let me see how long it goes on. Because decision making is so very important as an entrepreneur, because you have to take decisions on, like, you might make a mistake while doing that, but you have followed your what you believe intrinsically. If you have done that, just I guess leave the rest to karma. It'll sort itself out.
So, sir, Harsh Sharma from our audience wants to ask that how to generate streams of recurring cash flow to bootstart our startup.
Well, I mean, everyone has a different kind of answers to it, right? Because everyone has generated, whether it's a service. We pivoted, as I said, horizontally into a service play, primarily to keep our product alive. But now what we are doing primarily is our service play, right? So you don't know where the stream of revenue will come from unless or until you are a product and a well-built product, and you know that the first two features will bring you money, right? Or will bring you the audience that you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, if you have that audience, if you have the numbers, then money will come in at some point in time. It has to come in. That's how the world operates in 2021, right? But at the end of the day, our realization was completely different. We have just about started making revenue in football because we did not concentrate on that at all. We just concentrated on getting good content out for all these years, as we decided not to put the tech play on the back burner, right? But we for us, the revenue initially came from Buffalo Soldiers. This was service play. So that's a completely different route that we took. And we are glad that we took that, because we, at least as entrepreneurs, we have built a business, out of thin air, right? So that's something which is very, very satisfying to a lot of people. And your roots can't be defined until or unless you will find your own route. Cash flow will happen. I mean, cash flow will drive you as the CEO of the company, because it's cash flow that you're looking at every day. If you're not looking at, three things that a CEO has to look at on a daily basis, right? You have to know your story, and you have to know how to tell your story, because storytelling is so very important. You have to be very, very clear that what is the business that you want to do. And that business evolves, right? That business evolves every month, every year, every 6 months. It keeps evolving, right? There are certain opportunities that you look at and you say that, hey, this opportunity is something that I'm going to ride on, because it seems that this is one of our areas of expertise, again, skill sets, that this is what we can do. You bet on the future. Of course, you bet on the future because that's your vision. But you always look at the cash flow, because if you're not looking at the cash flow and the cash flow is not coming in, and for all of that, what matters, that one lesson in life I try to tell everyone is that, see, every one of us sells. If you are talking to your boyfriend, or you're talking to your mother, you're talking to your parents, and you say, I love you, you are selling that emotion to the other person. Everyone has a seller in themselves. If you can sell, you have half your life sorted, believe you me. But you have to sell as a startup entrepreneur, as a CEO, as a co-founder. If you don't know how to sell, then there is a problem.
Okay, sir. So we have another question from Anshuman Chauhan. So he's basically asking that as an entrepreneur, you're basically handling two things, right? Product building as well as business building. So how do you manage that, equation? That you're also an inventor, and alongside you're also an handling the business side of things and alongside hiring people?
But I think my biggest job in this whole in our whole company, there are two. I solve problems, right? I sell. I would say three, and I hire people, right? Rest everything else my co-founders do. But if I'm not doing these three things, then I'm not doing something right, because these three things will ensure what happens in the next step and the next step and the next step, because a good hire is connected with good production, or good anything that happens after that. You're in a service industry, you're producing something for your client, then you are rest assured that that thing has to be produced. So I mean, I try. I think after a long time, I think I really try nowadays. Initially, I had my hand in every pie, and all the co-founders had their hand in every pie. But nowadays, I try to get out of the creative process, right? Because that's not something that I want to do anymore. Because if I have to see, but there are stages to it, right? I mean, you can't do it on day one. As co-founder, you have to have your, you have to dabble into everything. And for me, it has been doubly difficult, because I think I had to unlearn everything that I learned in my past career to be actually doing what we are doing right now. So I think that was the time. None of us come from a finance background. I think that also had to be learned. But if you are willing to, again, if you're willing to skill up, if you're willing to learn, and skilling up doesn't start from your teammates. Skilling up starts from you. As every entrepreneur, it starts from you. Every day you are learning something new. If you stop that process of learning, or you're not willing to learn, I think that's where people start facing a lot of hurdles they can't cross.
So, sir, there's this quote that the earlier you start, the earlier you succeed, right? So, how do you think this quote is apt for entrepreneurship? Like, you probably got into entrepreneurship in your late 30s, if I'm guessing right. So, how do you think this quote compares to entrepreneurship?
I think it's complete bullshit. There's every time is a good time to start up. Don't believe in that. Whenever you are convinced about starting up, take the plunge, because there's no thing called good timing. You are the harbinger of that good timing. When you believe in something, when you have that vision set, and when you are determined to do that, that's the good time.
Very true, sir. And for many of those aspiring to be an entrepreneur, what do you think is the best skill that we can gain right now?
I don't think any entrepreneur comes with a certain set of skill sets. Entrepreneurs have come with different skill sets from across the world, right? Like some have been for complete techies, some have been marketing geniuses who knew zero about tech. Some have been just people out of content. But I think what helps you is, again, if you want to stick around, and if you want to be successful, and you don't know, I mean, you leave a lot of things to how the world pans out and what's the fate and all of that, and you will, as I said, you will keep making mistakes. Nobody is perfect, right? But at the end of the day, if you are upskilling yourself every day, and upskilling yourself, right, not upskilling in terms of learning, learning in college, or upskilling yourself to be learn a skill set that will help you. Like, I had to completely learn finance because I had zero idea about finance. I was actually scared about finance. So I think that's something that you have to give yourself every day. That if you're not learning something new, then you will have, and do what you do best, like play to your strengths. Of course, that's something that you never give up on.
So another query that we have is that what changes have you adapted in this COVID period to continue the flow of your startup?
Lot of it, I think, what we did is, so, as you know, like I'll give you a very, very, very interesting example. So across the world, all startups, I think, use Slack as their internal communication, right? We actually during COVID moved from Slack. We gave up Slack and we went to Basecamp because we found it more intuitive in many ways. So Slack, the problem was that we found that a lot of messages, Slack was just had a chat channel, right? So you couldn't find documents, you couldn't find a lot of things. So that's a huge call that we took because we were all adapted to Slack. And I'm just giving you a very, very practical example. We moved to work from home. We moved to work from home about 6 days before the lockdown happened, right? And we didn't know what was coming next. We didn't know what was going to hit us. Of course, in terms of revenue and businesses, we were kind of, but I think what helped us is, again, like the team, like we have grown as a family. I think that's the part of the value of an organization that we want to build. And whenever I go out there and we recruit, right, there are 3 things that we made in our initial phases till I would say till last month, and we also do that today. But we have added another line to it. We've made 3 things very, very clear when we are recruiting even an intern. I will say that if you can't smile, you should not be at Buffalo Soldiers. If you are an asshole, you won't be at Buffalo Soldiers / football. And if you really don't want to bring your A game on the table, you should not be joining any startup, right? You should be concentrating on joining an MNC. No, heartburn there, but that's your thing. We don't feel that you are motivated enough. And those tough calls, we really took some tough calls during it. And we were the only one of the, we were one of the only smaller, MSME stage growth players, who gave a COVID-19 insurance to all our teammates, who tried not to cut salaries right down to the wire. We might have done it for about a couple of months for maybe a couple of people in the much higher salary bracket. We never, did that. And I think it's only those things that you do as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, as a co-founder, those decisions you take. They might not pay you, right? They might not. You might think that, am I doing something to ensure that it pays me back? No, it does not, but it does pay you in the long run. See, we had one of the things is that our core team has, of course, increased, and during COVID, actually, it has increased, and the core members of the team have always stuck together. It is very important for you to have the core members of the team sticking together, understanding the vision, carrying the vision, because it's not you alone can't carry that vision forward. You have to have those core members carry that vision forward. And I think that helped us because we understood each other. We were, I think, compassionate about what was going on. We were empathetic to each other. We understood each other. And I think that's worked for us.
So, having a very good team also obviously helps a lot, right? And people with the same ideals.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Believe you me, having a team team with people who have similar kinds of motivations, similar kind of worldview, gelling with them. Now, every individual is different. So every individual has different ideas. I am different. My co-founder is different. But the point is that certain principles of life and certain ideas of life and certain visions of life, if you guys are aligned, then you go out there and conquer the world. That's how I feel, at least when it comes to me, about my team, about our team. I think I'm they are my family. And so again, and when I say that, people, I have friends, very dear friends, right? So being an entrepreneur, remember this: you will be given, you will be told by your friends on a Friday night, "Hey, are you coming out to party?" And you will have to say no. There are many reasons why you might have to say no, because there is task pending, there is work you want to do, you want to wake up early in the morning to finish something. You might want to save that money to put into your startup, like just not go out for a round of drinks. You have to do all of that. It's not an easy route. Friends will not understand. Some friends maybe desert you at that point in time. You will face all that, and that's why I said right up front, it's a lonely journey. because you're building something. You're building something with your idea to bring a little change in the world, right? A little change about how the world functions, or how some people function, or how some people, do something differently, right? That's what it is all about.
So, is there any advice that you would like to give to the 20-year-old version of yourself?
Yeah, a lot of them actually. I think the first would be, why didn't I start earlier? But I would say that see, one of the things I don't want to change. One advice that I'd like to give to the 20-year-old me is that you've always trusted your gut, you've always followed your instincts. Never fail to do that, because whenever I've done it, so I'll tell you a little story. Like, when I was a kid, and so there was this, I loved my cycle. Right now, I mean, you guys won't remember that, but there used to be this Hercules cycle at that point in time, right? Because there were no other cycles. There were like very, very few choices. And I used to take that everywhere. But there was unfortunately an accident. And I used to drive it really fast. I used to ride it really fast. Okay. So there was this whole accident which happened with someone and with a neighbor. And some of the neighbors actually complained to my dad, say that, hey, an accident has happened. You see your son drives like really fast. So I got the I got it from my dad. So next day I was riding the cycle really slowly. That's the first time I ever had an accident. So never do. I think never do things which is not your area of strength, which you don't intrinsically believe in. It might be a very bad example, but don't do things which is basically, I'm saying that you intrinsically are not passionate about, or intrinsically do not believe in them, that you have the skill set, you have the wherewithal, you have the passion to actually drive them forward.
So, sir, another question is that a lot of times Indian families are basically conditioned in a way to be risk adverse. So, what what do you think that younger people should say to their families to convince them to be able to venture out into the entrepreneurship world?
Well, I think I've been an eternal rebel with my family. So I think I have always, I did not even tell my parents for a couple of years, till the time like for 1.5 years, till the time we started getting in our own revenue, that I was doing something different, because they knew that I'd quit and all of that. But just to give them that entire picture that, hey, you are trying to build a business. They thought that, okay, I mean, I might have been working somewhere, doing something. So, but again, I mean, so if every person, as I said, individual is different, right? And Indian families, of course, you're right. I mean, are risk averse, but that is also changing with, I think, parents of this age, because they are giving more freedom to their children to do things, try things. But at the same time, I think for me, I have been I'm a either a here or there person, because I have nothing in the middle, right? So I think we joke about this now, but I went down to, I put all my SIPs, that was my only savings, into my startup, because I believed in it. I had that passion in it. Actually, at some point in time, there was that I went down to a 3-figure amount in my bank account. So that was scary as hell. Right? That I won't forget that. And I think that drives me more to create this and build this further, right? Because if there was something which we're building which you're not passionate about, then that's a different story. But we have hung in there. That's about it. We have just hung in there. And that's like 50% of the game won. If you can hang in there, because there would be times you don't know what's coming to you the next day. You might be thinking there is something else which is coming to you. You are not prepared for it. But as an entrepreneur, the biggest skill set that I feel, that are you hanging in there, and are you kind of telling yourself every day, hey, I can do it, I'll manage it, I will solve this problem. Because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do every day is solving a problem, whether it's for your product or whether it's for a client, right? So if you have your solving, cap on, I think that's like another 20% of the journey.
So you, like any other entrepreneur, must have faced some kind of setbacks, in your entrepreneurship journey. So what makes you get up and just go with the flow?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question, but I mean, not so difficult actually. I mean, I think what gives us a lot of, like, coming from a salaried background, I think what gives us a lot of pleasure is that we are enabling, and particularly in India, right? Because as you said, like, this families are risk averse, and like, are we enabling other families, like, families where I'm talking about teammates? We are providing a salary, we are creating something so that we are being able to provide to other people. I think that's a huge amount of satisfaction. I think not just building something, but that you are creating something which is long lasting, which enables everyone. And that's, I think if you go to a medium, Buffalo Soldiers, you would, I mean, I highly recommend you to do that, because we took a very very outlier call during the pandemic, because I think that is something which was very important for us, right? And we took that call, and that call was very, very clear, right? That and I think it's the first ever agency to do that. We said every teammate who works with us will have an equity in Buffalo Soldiers. And I think the co-founders, me, Shujoy, everybody set aside a certain equity portion just to enable them to have that. So I think that's a decision that satisfied us the most. One of the biggest decisions that we took. An agency business service industry, that does not happen. That happens in a product, but not in the service industry. So we changed the game for that. Just if you guys bear with me for 1 second, just give me 1 second. I might turn off my camera, but carry on with your question.
Okay, sir. So we have another question. It's from again Anshuman Chauhan. It's that how should we find the right investor?
Finding the right investor is a very tricky question, because I think we have learned that lesson up close and personal, how to find the right investor. See, the point is that, and as I was mentioning, right, the ecosystem in India, and now it's maturing. So of course we have different players. You have to find investors. Number one, do your research. Number one, see where the investors you are approaching are actually investing in, which are the sectors they are, because there are a lot of investors who are not even investing in the round that you're looking for, right? Like, some people are going and looking for seed rounds, some people are looking for series 1 rounds, right? Which round you're looking for, which is the investor that you are that you want to actually approach, because there are a lot of, like, and in the US I see this, in Europe I see this now happening a lot more. Even in India, that market is opening up. That there are investors who this has become a fashion that they want to write founder-friendly investor, but they're not. So you do need to, whenever you're approaching an investor, you need to do a lot of research. See the sectors they're investing in. See what people are talking about them. Right? What are the founders talking about them who have raised money from them? That is very, very important for you to know, because the round that you want to do, does the investor have the wherewithal? And the last but the most important thing, is the investor going to stay the course with you? Because, or is the investor trying to say, just 1 second. Or is the investor trying to say that you are, you're kind of not aligned to your idea, saying that I want an exit in about 3 years, or I want an exit in about 1 year. So that's something that what investor will actually say that I want to come on your board to help you, rather than investors who are coming on your board to kind of make a quick exit. So I think that is very, very important for you to understand.
So another question we have from our audience is that how to make our storytelling really effective.
Sorry, can you come on that question again?
Yeah, the question is that how we can make our storytelling really effective.
See, there is no set ground rules to make your storytelling effective. But what is very, very important is for you to know your own story. What is the story that you are telling? How did you what's your journey? If you have that story etched out in your head, right, the rest of the things should fall into place. But one of the things that is very important in today's age and today's world is that people believe, see, understand that investors don't invest in your company. Good investors do not invest in your company. They invest in the driver of the bus, not the bus. And the driver of the bus has to have that story, has to have that motivation, has to have that passion. Because if they don't like you, doesn't matter how big a company, how different a product, how scalable a product you're building, they will not come back to you. And that has been 90% of the cases in the world, right? People have always placed their bet on the driver of the bus, not the bus itself.
So I think we are just about running out of questions, but we still have one more. Is that what is which type of ideal partner is best for long term? I mean, how do you choose an ideal partner? It's basically what he's asking.
Are you looking at a co-founder or you're talking about an investor?
A person to start your venture with.
So a co-founder.
Yeah, co-founder.
See, that's a very interesting question, because I think we have gone through this and we have realized that the co-founder has to be somebody who should be a sounding board, and it works both ways, right? Of course, a lot of trust, right? A lot of trust, but also your sounding board. And I think all co-founders should be very, very clear with each other from day one. And if your co-founder is somebody like, say, you are the CEO of a company, your co-founder is the CTO of the company, then there is another co-founder who is the product head of the company, right? So if they are only coming to the CEO and telling them that, oh, this is great, that's not the right co-founder that you're looking at. You have to have a co-founder who has the who has the guts to come up to you and say, hey, this is the wrong decision, this should be done like this, because this is the logic behind it, right? Or say just that my gut doesn't it does not feel that doing this, taking this strategy is right, and have that logical discussion with you. Because a lot of places where we see that companies are if I cannot speak to my co-founder as a sounding board, and I'm saying this from experience. I mean, Shujoy is my sounding board has been my sounding board for all these years. And it's like, I take a decision, I call him up, and or rather before taking the decision, and I sound it out with him, because I know that he will come, he will make those points, which me being an instinct person or a gut person, and he's more of a different individual, driven very logically, will come up with things which I might not have foreseen, or I might not have seen even in the short term, right? So I think, I'm more of a long-term person, but Shijoy sees a lot of things in the short term, which I don't see usually. And that's our biggest strength and asset, that I can talk to him and he can talk to me, and we be each other's sounding boards. And we know that, okay, sometimes one of us will be right, sometimes the other one will be right, and we are fine with that, because that's what collaborative decision making is all about. Because and again, my core team, right? Now the core team contributes to those ideas. Then you have to trust your core team to actually trust them to a great extent, to know that, hey, and those guys will now bring in a lot of ideas together, a lot of thoughts together, which will ensure that you are taking the right decision.
So, sir, what are your views on various initiatives which have been taken by the government, like Startup India? What do you think about them?
I think it's brilliant. I think for the first time as a country, we are progressing in a right direction when it comes to entrepreneurship, because we did not have a culture of that. And, I think Aniket mentioned about it, right? That families, see, it's all about a discourse in life, right? like, so I love to give this example, right? When we when our parents, the other generation, they completely different generation. They had no idea what a controversial topic like, say, homosexuality looked like, right. But now, because we had discourse, we have other parts of the story, we have heard people talk, different viewpoints come in, right? We as a generation, we know that we can take an informed decision. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship, right? Enabling a culture of entrepreneurship is very, very important in this country. That was missing, and I think we finally have started, taking the step in the right direction, because at least kids like you, who will not do this 5 years back, maybe in a couple of colleges, but would not do this 5 years back, would not want to know about entrepreneurship. That you are actually talking about it, that we are talking about it today. You and me. I think that proves that what they're doing is opening up the discourse, opening up this topic to people, and let people take an informed decision. Let kids take an informed decision, because it's not all about becoming an engineer or a doctor, right, in your life. There are so many other things to do.
Yeah, I had a question. Is that the higher up I think you go in the corporate ladder, the more I think you surround yourself by a bubble of information that is actually not true, but meant to, put forward a good image. So how do you overcome that? Is that how you get the real information? What's actually happening in your company?
No, I think again, I mean, depends on how big your company is. Of course, like the bigger your company gets, the while there are challenges while starting up, and there are loads of challenges, there are bigger challenges when you have actually grown bigger, right? There are processes which are built. Then there are more processes which are put into processes which are already existing. Some of them are necessary, some of them are unnecessary, right? But I think as a corporate leader, one of the things is that yes, you sometimes tend to put yourself in a bubble. But again, there are individuals who, I mean, it depends on individual. After, I think what is the biggest, killjoy is processes. Yes, processes are very important. I keep talking about processes every day within our company, right? But overkill with processes is something where you are actually not letting people have their freedom of performing. So I think, yes, there are some processes, the basic processes which are needed, but there are some processes which is just done to, I believe, just because of whims and fancies, and that I think is the one thing which kind of which kind of where you see this, right, with legacy companies who want to actually do startups, right, who wants to, like, so today, and say Elon Musk's company comes and kind of displaces all the car companies in the world, because they had those legacy ideas, because they could not overcome legacy. If you look at, say, we do content, right, so look at the media industry, what is happening there, right? Again, legacy problems. I think one of the biggest things, I think one of the greatest examples I always used to give is like when Washington Post was bought over by Jeff Bezos. I think what he did was very interesting. His team brought the content guys, the journalists, and the technology team together in one newsroom. Now that's a brilliant thing to do, because everywhere there were these silos that people were working in. There were different floors where people were working in. But suddenly you had this hunger. You had this thing that, hey, if on a digital world, your numbers you cannot hide your numbers, right? You have every data possible. You know what's your demography who is looking at one piece of content. So for that to synergize was, I think, one of the best decisions of a corporate being taken over by a startup or hugely the world's biggest, most successful startup. But then kind of treated like a startup, taking off the entire, kind of legacy carpet and pulling that under the feet of everyone and kind of starting afresh. I think that was one of the best decisions, like one of the biggest, boldest decisions that I had seen for a long, long time. So yes, processes, the legacy, to overcome legacy, you need to bring in fresh blood. And I think that's where you guys would be coming in at some point in time as you pass out of college, or maybe earlier, you never know.
So another query which we have from our audience is that how can we build a good relationship with a client in any company?
Talk to your client. Don't think about your client as if you are. So one of the things that where we really I think our clients value in us, and this is again another thing that, so we never had a sales initiative, right? We never had the time to build a sales team within our company. I have been the salesman for the company. But you know how we got our businesses? We got our businesses, and we are so proud to say this fact that we got 80% of our businesses, or rather we get 80% of our businesses from referrals of existing clients. One of our existing clients actually referred us, and that was, I think, one of our biggest referral business, actually referred us to PayPal in Singapore, right? And now we are working with PayPal in Singapore. So I think, if you are treating your clients as someone that who, if you're going to treat your client as that, just that money, clients pay you money, then you've lost the game. But if you build that relationship with clients, building the relationship with clients is very important. Getting their work done. Like, I won't name it, but I will. Like, there's one of the world's biggest IT services company that we work for, and so our tagline is "We design stories," right? So for them, we have a separate tagline. For them, we have internally. This is the internal joke that goes on with them actually. So we can talk in that language to clients. So our tagline is "Buffalo Soldiers, we get shit done." So that's how much they trust in us. Like, if there is a project which no agency, like, very, very important project, like, which has to be delivered in 24 hours, they will never go to anyone else. We know that. Because we have built that trust with them, with relationship with them, not just by plain talk, but by delivery. And we have delivered time and again. Because, see, it's like that, it's like a cricket match, right? And a lot of you must be following cricket, unlike me or Devashish, I think. A batsman is as good as his last innings, right? So it's like you have delivered a project, go out there, have a beer, do your high fives, forget about it, because then it's about the next project. Because if you're not doing that, and you can't live in the past as an entrepreneur for one single day. The past is done, past is dusted, move on, because there's a new challenge coming your way every day.
So I think we should wrap this up, but someone has a final question, is that he's asking that, will you hire from DTU?
Of course, I'd love to hire from DTU. That's what there is on my LinkedIn. We are hiring. Please send your CVs. You have my email. Please send your CVs. We're always looking at good people. We are always looking at people who are, who want to make a difference, who has that hunger, that real hunger. We'll always look for people who will say, I don't care. Kal घर में किसी का शादी है. I have work to do. We want, because see, this first 10 years will define your life as a professional. Whoever wants to, be there and be that professional, you are always welcome.
So thank you, sir. It was a pleasure talking with you, and we hope we can do this again sometime. And I think that's about it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. To all of you there, I think one of the things that if you want to, if you have a vision, if you want to do something, hustle in a good way. Hustle hard. Not the bad way of hustle, but hustle. and hustle really hard and hustle right from your heart. Don't I think that's something which we all need to understand, because it's a very bad word, right? Like hustle sometimes becomes a good word, sometimes becomes a bad word. But if you're hustling right from your heart and if you're doing that, I think you guys are sorted.
Of course.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for
sir.
your time.
My pleasure. Take care. Have a lovely Sunday.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. See you guys.